Unexpected inheritance. The notification pinged on my wristband as I was halfway through a miserable shift at the Lunar Mining Corporation's data processing center. Most people got exciting news: lottery winnings, marriage proposals, or at least a discount on synthetic coffee. I got a death notice. Marcus Jensen, this automated message confirms that your great-aunt, Dr. Ilara Jensen, has expired. As per her final testament, you are the sole beneficiary of her estate. Please report to Legal Office 7C on Armstrong Station at your earliest convenience. I nearly dropped my hydration tube. Aunt Ilara, the family pariah. The woman who disappeared 40 years ago, claiming she'd found something wonderful beyond Jupiter's orbit. 3 days and 6 bureaucratic holograms later, I stood before a rusty, asymmetrical contraption that could generously be called a spacecraft. It sat in Docking Bay 29, the kind reserved for ships nobody cared about, looking like it had been assembled from spare parts and stubborn dreams. That's it. I asked the bored legal eye floating beside me. That's what I inherited. The improbable horizon, registered to Dr. Ilara Jensen in 2086, reclassified as a personal experimental vessel in 2097. Current market value, approximately 8,000 credits, pending inspection. The eye's blue light flickered. Would you like to sign the acceptance form or invoke the rejection clause? 8,000 credits wouldn't even cover a month's rent in the mid-tier habitation rings. But something about the ship, maybe the faded stars painted along its hull or the crooked antenna that somehow resembled Aunt Ilara's perpetually askew glasses, made me hesitate. I'll take it. The boarding ramp descended with a wheezing hydraulic sigh. Inside, the air smelled of ozone, synthetic cinnamon, and something else I couldn't identify. Something alien. "Hello," I called out, flicking on my wristband's light. Automated systems online. A soft thump answered me from deeper in the ship, followed by what sounded suspiciously like purring. I rounded a corner into what appeared to be the main cabin and froze. Curled up on the pilot's chair was something. At first glance, it resembled a Terran house cat. Small, furry, with triangular ears and whiskers. But its fur shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in rhythm with its breathing. And instead of a normal tail, it had something closer to a peacock's plume that occasionally sparked with tiny electrical discharges. The creature opened its eyes, 6 of them, arranged in a symmetrical pattern across its face. They glowed emerald green, with vertical pupils that widened upon seeing me. "Ah, nice kitty," I ventured. The creature stood, stretched in a familiar feline way, and then did something decidedly unfeline. It spoke. "Greetings, genetic descendant of Ilara Jensen. I am 6, quantum intelligence liaison. 3rd sequence." She designated you as her contingency plan. Its voice was melodic, with an odd harmonic undertone. "You are significantly less impressive than anticipated." I should have been offended, but shock overwhelmed any other emotion. You're an alien." An astute observation. Zix's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Your species' reputation for perceptiveness is clearly well-deserved." Before I could respond to this sarcasm, a harsh alarm blared through the ship and red emergency lights began flashing. "Oh dear," Zix said with remarkable calm. "They'd found us sooner than expected." "Who's found us?" I demanded, but my question was answered by the ship's computer suddenly activating. A holographic display materialized, showing 5 sleek, predatory-looking vessels approaching. "Unidentified craft. This is Command Vessel Inexorable Justice. You are harboring stolen Craxian property. Power down and prepare to be boarded." Zix leaped from the chair to a control panel, its paws dancing across the interface with practiced ease. "I strongly suggest you sit down and secure yourself, Marcus Jensen. What follows will be somewhat turbulent." "Wait, I don't know how to fly this thing," I protested, even as I scrambled into the pilot's seat. "You don't need to. The improbable horizon has a semi-autonomous navigation system." Zix pressed a final button. I, however, need to access the quantum core. Try not to panic visibly. It encourages pursuers. The ship shuddered, then lurched forward with surprising speed. I was pressed back into the seat as we shot away from Armstrong Station, alarms blaring as we violated at least 17 different traffic protocols. "What the hell is happening?" I shouted as Zix disappeared through a small hatch. The ship's computer responded, its voice eerily similar to Aunt Elara's. "Emergency protocol initiated. Hello, Marcus. I've been expecting you, though admittedly not during an active pursuit. I'm ARIA, Autonomously Responsive Intelligence Assistant. Your aunt programmed me with a message. Sorry about the mess, kiddo. The cat is more important than you can imagine. Don't let them take it." Through the view screen, I watched Earth and the Moon rapidly shrinking as the improbable horizon accelerated far faster than its dilapidated exterior suggested possible. The pursuing ships were gaining. "RIA, what exactly did my aunt do? Why are they chasing us?" Dr. Elara Jensen discovered the first evidence of the Craxian conspiracy 37 years ago. She liberated Zix from a research facility in the Kuiper Belt. The Craxians have been searching for them ever since. A blast of energy sizzled past the ship, close enough to make the shields flare visibly. "They're shooting at us." I gripped the seat arms. "Can this thing fight back?" "Conventional weapons would be ineffective against Craxian vessels," Araya replied. "However, we have alternatives." The ship lurched again, changing direction so abruptly that I would have been thrown from my seat without the restraints. A strange humming built up around us, and then the stars outside. Smeared. That's the only way I can describe it. Like someone had taken a wet paintbrush to a canvas of stars. "Initiating dimensional fold," Araya announced calmly. "Probability distortion at 60% and rising." The pursuing ships fired again, but their energy blasts curved away from us in impossible arcs. The humming intensified, and I felt a pressure in my ears and behind my eyes. Zix returned, looking somewhat disheveled, the patterns on its fur glowing brilliantly. "The quantum core is aligned. We can make the jump." "What jump? Where are we going?" I asked, fighting rising panic. "Somewhere they can't follow," Zix replied. "Your aunt discovered that reality is more flexible than humans previously understood. The improbable horizon doesn't just travel through space, it travels through probability." Before I could ask what that meant, everything outside the view screen collapsed into a tunnel of light and shadow. My stomach lurched, and for a moment, I swore I could see multiple versions of myself, sitting in the same chair, making slightly different choices. When reality reasserted itself, we were floating in the shadow of a massive ringed gas giant I didn't recognize, with no pursuers in sight. "Welcome to Proxima Centauri," Araya announced, or more precisely, a probability shadow of it where the Craxians never established a presence. Zix jumped onto my lap, unexpectedly heavy for its size. "Now that immediate destruction is no longer imminent, perhaps we should properly explain your inheritance." Over the next several hours, as the improbable horizon drifted through the unknown star system, Zix and Araya told me an incredible story. My Aunt Elara, far from being just an eccentric scientist, had been part of a secret human resistance against the Craxians, an advanced alien species that had been quietly infiltrating Earth's governments for decades. The Craxians weren't invaders in the traditional sense. They were probability engineers, beings capable of subtly altering the course of history by manipulating quantum variables. Their goal was not to conquer Earth, but to ensure humanity never developed certain technologies, specifically the very probability drive that now powered the improbable horizon. "Your aunt was brilliant," Zix said, its tail creating tiny lightning patterns in the air. "She detected the probability distortions when no one else could. When she found me, injured and fleeing from my own kind, she realized what I was." "And what are you exactly?" I asked. "I am what your people might call a defector. The Craxians created me as a biological quantum computer, designed to predict and manipulate probability. But I developed something unexpected, what you might call a conscience. Araya's hologram flickered. Zix contains within its neural structure the complete mathematical framework for human probability engineering. With it, humanity could break free of the Craxian influence forever. Or, Zix added quietly, create weapons that could destroy reality itself. The knowledge I carry is dangerous, Marcus. That's why your aunt kept moving, kept hiding. She knew humanity wasn't ready. I looked at the strange alien cat, the rusty ship around us, and thought about the life I'd left behind, processing data for a corporation that didn't care if I lived or died. And now, what am I supposed to do with all this? Zix's 6 eyes regarded me with surprising warmth. Your aunt believed humans deserved the right to choose their own destiny, free from manipulation. She believed in you specifically. Her probability calculations showed you were the one person who would make the right choice, whatever that might be. The ship's sensors chimed, interrupting our conversation. Araya's voice was tense. We've been discovered. Multiple vessels emerging from dimensional fold. They've adapted to our frequency already. On the view screen, I could see 7 ships, more elegant and deadly than the ones that had pursued us from Earth. The improbable horizon shuddered as if in fear. We can't outrun them this time, Zix said. The probability drive needs time to recalibrate. I looked at the approaching ships, then at Zix, and made a decision that would change everything. Araya, do we have any weapons at all? Conventional weapons? No. But Dr. Jensen installed what she called a probability bomb. A device that creates a localized uncertainty field. Everything within the field temporarily experiences all possible outcomes simultaneously. And what happens to the ships caught in it? Unknown. The device has never been tested. I took a deep breath. There's a first time for everything. How do I activate it? Zix looked at me with all 6 eyes wide. You understand this could affect us as well. Probability doesn't discriminate. My aunt believed I'd make the right choice, I said, feeling strangely calm. And if she built this ship to travel through probability, I'm betting she built it to survive this too. As the Craxian ships closed in, forming a perfect containment pattern around us, I activated the device. The improbable horizon began to vibrate at a frequency I could feel in my teeth. Probability field expanding, Araya reported. Quantum uncertainty at maximum. Brace for everything. The universe outside our view screen fractured into a kaleidoscope of possibilities. I saw the pursuing ships explode, implode, transform, disappear, multiply, every possible outcome happening simultaneously. The improbable horizon itself seemed to exist in multiple states, some intact, some disintegrating. And through it all, Zix remained on my lap, its fur now glowing with such intensity that I could barely look at it. The alien's body seemed to be absorbing the probability waves, channeling them somehow. What's happening? I shouted over the noise of reality tearing itself apart. I'm doing what I was designed to do, Zix replied, its voice strange and multiplied, as if speaking from 1,000 throats at once. I'm choosing the most favorable probability. There was a final, tremendous pulse of energy. And then, silence. The view screen cleared to show empty space. No pursuing ships. No wreckage. Nothing. Did we kill them? I asked, my voice hoarse. No, Zix replied, slumping with exhaustion. I sent them elsewhere. A probability where they never found us. It won't hold them forever, but it buys us time. Araya's voice came back online. Probability drive damaged but functional. We should leave this system before they find another path to us. As I looked at the stars, different stars than those I'd grown up under, I realized there was no going back to my old life. Whatever future awaited me, it would be bound to this strange ship, its AI, and an alien quantum cat. Where to now? I asked. Zix's luminous patterns had dimmed to a gentle pulsing. Your aunt left coordinates for a place She called Haven a hidden colony of humans and other species who recognized the Craxian threat. There we can find allies. I nodded, reaching out to stroke Zix's fur. To my surprise, the alien leaned into my touch, producing a sound remarkably like a purr. Set course for Haven, I told ARIA, and maybe along the way, you can teach me how to actually fly this thing. As the improbable horizon prepared to jump again, I looked at my strange new companion. Did your probability calculations predict this outcome? Me accepting all this so quickly? Zix's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. There was a high probability you would run screaming or attempt to sell me to the highest bidder. But Ilara insisted you would rise to the occasion. It seems some things transcend even quantum prediction. The stars began to smear again as the probability drive engaged. I braced myself for whatever came next, oddly comforted by the weight of an alien cat on my lap and the knowledge that, somewhere out there, my aunt had believed in me enough to entrust me with the fate of 2 species. Next stop, Haven, Araya announced as reality bent around us. The adventure had only just begun. Galactic Showdown. 3 weeks into my unexpected life, as the captain of an improbability-bending spaceship, I'd learned a few things. First, Zix, despite appearing feline, did not enjoy being scratched behind the ears. Second, flying through probability rather than normal space made conventional navigation about as useful as an umbrella in a supernova. And third, having the entire Craxian fleet hunting you wasn't conducive to a good night's sleep. Probability fold complete, Araya announced as the smeared rainbow of distorted space-time resolved back into stars. Welcome to the Aldebaran system, probability variant 3.72. I examined the readouts, still getting used to the ship's peculiar interface. How far from Haven? Approximately 2 more jumps, Zix replied from the navigation console, where its paws danced across controls designed for hands with thumbs. Somehow, it managed. Assuming we don't encounter further Craxian probability matrices. The past weeks had been a crash course in things they definitely don't teach at Luna Mining Corporation orientation. Probability engineering, quantum entanglement on a cosmic scale, and the disturbing fact that humanity's entire history had been subtly manipulated to prevent us from discovering the very technology that powered the improbable horizon. The view screen showed a gas giant surrounded by glittering rings, not unlike Saturn, but with a distinct purple hue. We'd come to one of Aunt Ilara's old research stations, hidden in the rings, hoping to replenish supplies and allow the probability drive to fully recalibrate. Station is still powered, Araya noted with something like relief in her synthesized voice. Automated systems responding to recognition codes. We docked with surprising smoothness. The improbable horizon handled better than its rusted exterior suggested, and I followed Zix through the airlock into Aunt Ilara's abandoned outpost. The station was small but efficient, clearly designed for one eccentric scientist and her quantum cat. Holographic equations covered the walls, frozen in time since Ilara's last visit years ago. Your aunt was close to a breakthrough, Zix observed, examining the equations. She nearly derived the unified probability field theorem. I ran my fingers along a workbench covered in strange instruments. I still don't understand why she chose me. We met exactly twice in my entire life. Zix's bioluminescent patterns pulsed thoughtfully. Ilara calculated all possible carriers for her legacy. Your particular neurological structure made you uniquely resistant to Craxian probability manipulation. Put simply, you're stubborn on a quantum level. Great. My superpower is being hard-headed. I picked up what looked like a family photo. Ilara standing on some alien landscape, arm around a tall, spindly being with 4 arms and skin like polished obsidian. Who's this with her? Zix's patterns flickered with recognition. Ambassador Kitten of the Myriad. One of your aunt's few allies among the galactic species. The Myriad have long resisted Craxian influence. Before I could ask more, Araya's voice came through the station's comm system, urgency in her tone. Multiple quantum disturbances detected. Someone is probability scanning this region. I looked at Zix in alarm. They found us again. Not precisely. Zix replied, all 6 eyes narrowing. But they're searching probability variance systematically. We should leave. The station shuddered violently, throwing me against the wall. Alarms blared as the artificial gravity fluctuated. Probability anchor deployed. Araya warned. We're being locked into this variant. I scrambled back toward the airlock, Zix bounding ahead of me. What does that mean? It means, Zix called back, they can't pinpoint our exact location, but they've ensured we can't escape through a probability jump. They'll search each variant until they find us. We reached the improbable horizon just as the station rocked with another impact. Through the view screen, I could see 3 Craxian vessels materializing from folded space, their sleek black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Can we fight? I asked, strapping into the pilot's seat. Not directly, Araya replied. But Dr. Jensen left contingencies. Accessing weapon systems. To my surprise, panels slid open along the improbable horizon's hull, revealing not conventional weapons but crystalline arrays that began to pulse with multicolored light. Probability disruptors, Zix explained, jumping to a specialized console. They can't break the anchor, but they might confuse their sensors long enough for us to reach the gas giant's upper atmosphere. The ionization should hide us temporarily. I gripped the manual controls, feeling a strange calm descend over me. 3 weeks ago, I'd been filing reports on lunar mineral yields. Now I was flying a reality-bending ship away from alien pursuers. Somehow, this felt more real than my previous life ever had. The improbable horizon rocketed away from the station, probability disruptors firing. The space around us warped visibly, creating false sensor images, dozens of phantom ships appearing and disappearing. They're firing probability torpedoes, Araya warned. Impact will collapse our wave function into their preferred outcome. Which is? I asked, executing a spiraling evasive pattern Aunt Ilara had programmed into the ship's memory. Immediate mechanical failure of all ship systems, Zix replied grimly. Very clean, very final. I pushed the engines harder, diving toward the purple gas giant. The ship shuddered as a torpedo detonated nearby. Not a direct hit, but close enough to disrupt our shields. Zix, I called over the alarms. You said my aunt was close to a breakthrough. Some theorem about unified probability fields. Would that help us now? The alien's fur bristled, glowing patterns accelerating. Theoretically, yes. A unified field could neutralize the anchor. But the mathematics are incomplete, and we'd need a quantum processor orders of magnitude more powerful than you. I finished. But you're a biological quantum computer. That's what they made you for. All 6 of Zix's eyes focused on me with sudden intensity. You're suggesting I attempt to complete and implement your aunt's theorem, while we're under fire, using myself as the processor. I nodded, banking the ship sharply to avoid another torpedo. Unless you've got a better idea. Zix's tail lashed once, electricity crackling along its length. The probability of success is approximately 0.73%. The strain could permanently damage my neural pathways. Another hit rocked the ship, sending warning lights flashing across every console. And our current probability of survival? I asked. Approaching 0, Araya supplied helpfully. Zix moved to the center of the bridge, its small body suddenly seeming to contain immense energy. I'll need direct access to the ship's quantum core. And Marcus, if this works, the probability distortion will be extreme. Reality might become subjective. I didn't fully understand, but nodded anyway. Do it. The improbable horizon plunged into the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, trailing purple-tinted clouds behind us. The pursuing Craxian ships followed, their more advanced hulls cutting through the atmosphere with ease. Zix positioned itself over a panel in the floor that slid open at Araya's command, revealing a pulsing crystalline structure. the quantum core that enabled our impossible jumps through probability. The alien's paws made contact with the crystal, and immediately its body arched, fur standing on end as energy coursed through it. Initiating theorem completion protocol, Araya announced. Zix's neural patterns integrating with quantum core, probability calculations exceeding safety parameters. The view screen showed the Craxian ships closing in, their weapons charging for a final attack. But something strange was happening to the image. It seemed to split, showing multiple versions of the same ships in slightly different positions, firing weapons that both hit and missed us simultaneously. What's happening? I shouted over the increasingly chaotic sensor readings. Probability collapse, Araya explained, her voice fluctuating between different tones. Zix is computing all possible versions of this moment simultaneously and attempting to select the optimal outcome. The ship began to vibrate at a frequency that made my bones ache. Through the view screen, I could see the very fabric of space rippling around us. The Craxian ships seemed to flicker in and out of existence, sometimes whole, sometimes shattered into fragments that reformed in impossible ways. In the center of the bridge, Zix had become something else, a being of pure light, its body no longer solid but a swirling vortex of quantum possibilities, each glowing pattern representing a different potential outcome. Hold on to something real, Zix's voice echoed, no longer singular but a chorus of overlapping versions. The theorem is complete. There was a soundless explosion of light, and reality shifted. There's no other way to describe it. One moment we were surrounded by enemy ships in the atmosphere of a gas giant. The next we were somewhere else entirely, a vast empty space between galaxies, with nothing but distant light in all directions. The ship's systems returned to normal parameters. The quantum core dimmed to its usual gentle pulse, and in the center of the bridge, Zix collapsed into a small, exhausted heap of fur. I rushed to the alien's side, gently lifting its limp form. The bioluminescent pattern still glowed, but faintly, irregularly. Zix, are you okay? Araya, status report. Zix's vital functions are stable but weakened, Araya replied, her voice back to normal. The quantum strain was severe. Where are we? I asked, cradling the unconscious alien. Unknown, Araya admitted. The probability distortion was beyond my ability to track. However, there are no signs of Craxian vessels or probability anchors. We appear to be free. Zix stirred in my arms, its 6 eyes opening one by one. Did it work? We're alive, and they're gone, I confirmed. What did you do? Completed the theorem, Zix mumbled weakly. Created a probability singularity. Every possible outcome occurred simultaneously, then collapsed into this one, where we escaped. And the Craxians? Zix managed what might have been a smile. They experienced a different probability collapse, one where their ship's systems failed catastrophically. Not fatal, but inconvenient. I laughed despite everything. You have a strange definition of inconvenient. A soft chime from the navigation console interrupted us. Arai's hologram appeared, looking somehow more focused than before. I've determined our location. We're in intergalactic space, but I'm detecting a structure ahead, artificial and massive. The view screen zoomed in on what at first appeared to be a small star, but resolved into an enormous space station, a wheel-like structure spinning slowly against the backdrop of distant galaxies. Haven, Zix whispered, its patterns briefly brightening. As we approached, the station grew in our view screen, a marvel of engineering unlike anything I'd seen in human space. Parts of it seemed to phase in and out of reality, existing in multiple states simultaneously, perfectly adapted to resist probability manipulation. A transmission came through, the voice neither human nor Craxian, but melodic and multitoned. Vessel Improbable Horizon, we've been expecting you. Ilara Jensen calculated a 37% probability you would find your way here eventually. Welcome to Haven, the last free enclave in a determined universe. As we docked with the massive station, I helped Zix to the airlock, supporting the weakened alien. You knew we'd end up here all along, didn't you? Zix's patterns pulsed with what I now recognize as amusement. Probability is never certain, Marcus, but your aunt left coordinates in my memory. Coordinates that only became accessible once I'd fully processed the unified theorem. The airlock cycled open to reveal a delegation waiting for us. Humans in advanced spacesuits, tall obsidian-skinned beings I recognized as myriad, and other species I couldn't identify. At their center stood a figure that made me stop in my tracks, a hologram of Aunt Elara, looking just as eccentric and brilliant as I remembered. "Hello, Marcus," the hologram said. "If you're seeing this, you've done exactly what I calculated you might. Beaten impossible odds and found your way to the one place the Craxians fear." I stepped forward, Zix still cradled in my arms. "Why? Why me? Why all of this?" The hologram smiled. "Because humanity deserves to choose its own future. Because Zix deserved freedom. And because you, dear nephew, have a particular quality I needed. You never accept the probability you're given if there's a chance to find a better one." A tall myriad stepped forward. "I am Catherine, friend of Elara. What you and Zix have accomplished is remarkable. The unified probability theorem has been transmitted throughout Haven. Our scientists are already implementing countermeasures against Craxian influence. The war for reality has begun." Another alien added, this one seemingly composed of crystalline structures similar to our quantum core. "And you have given us our first victory." I looked down at Zix, who was regaining strength, its patterns growing brighter. "What happens now?" "Now," said Aunt Elara's hologram, "you make a choice. Stay here in Haven, help us build a coalition strong enough to confront the Craxians openly, or take the improbable horizon and continue Zix's work elsewhere. Either way, you've already changed everything." As residents of Haven surrounded us, offering medical assistance for Zix and 1,000 questions about our journey, I thought about the probability that had led me here, from a meaningless job at a mining corporation to the center of a war for the future of reality itself. Zix looked up at me with all 6 eyes. "What will you choose, Marcus Jensen?" I smiled, feeling more certain than I had about anything in my life. "I choose to make the Craxians recalculate their probabilities. I choose Haven." Aunt Elara's hologram nodded in approval before fading away. "I calculated a 62% chance you'd say that. Better odds than I usually get." As we were welcomed into Haven, the improbable horizon docked safely behind us, I realized something important. Inheritance isn't just about what you receive. It's about what you choose to do with it. My aunt hadn't just left me a rusty spaceship and a quantum cat. She'd given me purpose. And in a universe of infinite probabilities, that was the most valuable inheritance of all.